Okay. Good afternoon. I see there's Dean also from Joburg, welcome, and Pride from Pulset Kids Academy. And Fani is from JBay. Hello, Fani, welcome. And Lunga, she's from Focus on Itimba. Oh, it might be a him, apologies. Cape Town, welcome Cape Town, welcome Duduza. Nice to have you. And Brian also from Cape Town and Tracy from Pretoria. Got even people from Masikule. Welcome, everybody. Tandy from Heartlines, Mpumalanga, welcome. And Heartlines in Joburg as well. Fildas from Worcester. Welcome, Filda. And Michelle from a very cold Bloemfontein. Yes, I think we are all preparing to snuggle up. Welcome, everybody. My name is Helene Brandt. Welcome to today's webinar. We're going to be discussing a really thought-provoking and interesting topic, the Fathers Matters ECD Toolkit, brought to you by Heartlines. I'll introduce our friends from Heartlines to you soon. If you are struggling with your internet connection today, if you are struggling with your data, don't worry, this meeting is being recorded. We will also share the recording and all of the notes with you by tomorrow by email. So feel free to introduce yourself in the chat and let's get started. Good afternoon. All right, so I am on two devices. If you see me looking around, it's because I'm checking the chat to see what questions you might have or comments you might have during the webinar. Feel free to add your comments and your questions and your perspective on the topic today. I'm very happy to introduce you today to our friends at Heartlines. For those of you who are new, I see a lot of new people who have registered for this webinar. Grow hosts a lot of webinars. So just for some quick context, Grow is where I work, and we're a nonprofit organization that's working towards 5-star early learning in every neighborhood. And how we do that is we equip and we connect ECD businesses with the tools and the resources they need so that they can deliver quality education and run more sustainable ECD businesses. Now, Grow understands that you need a lot of things. You're the CEO, the Chief Everything Officer, your ECD Center. And Grow's focus really is on how to run your preschool like a business. But we need to connect with all the players in the ECD sector and leverage each other's strengths. That's why we often host webinars where we share more information on topics. And that's why we're very excited today to invite Heartlines to this webinar, because they're bringing a different strength and a different angle to what we need in ECD. So who is Heartlines? Well, Heartlines is a social change organization that encourages people to live out positive values. I mean, that's amazing. Values is the foundation of society. So they have various projects and they cover many topics, but today we're going to be focusing on their Fathers Matter project. And this project supports the positive role of men in the lives of children. So let me introduce our guests. Simone, welcome. Simone is a project manager for the ECD Toolkit project at Heartlines. She has a great team behind her, but she's online today to tell us more about the ECD Toolkit. So she's been working behind the scene to oversee the research and the development of this toolkit. And we're going to talk to someone more about the research findings and what the toolkit entails. Hi, Simone, welcome.
Thank you so much, Helena. I'm very glad to be here.
Awesome. And then our other amazing guest, Olifile, so show us your face. There we go. Good afternoon. Olifile is a mobilization manager. That means that he manages a team of people at Heartlines to ensure that the programs they develop are adopted by the stakeholders in their communities. So he works with faith-based organizations, community-based organizations, and he is also a father. So today, Olifile will be chatting with us about the role of fathers and why they are so crucial in the lives of children.
Yeah, good afternoon, Elaine. Good afternoon to the Grow community. Hope to have a wonderful time together this afternoon.
Nice. And can I just also say hello? I see people are from Atlantis. We have play groups, Western Cape. We have Brenda from Covenant Kids Academy. Too many people to say hello to. Someone from Palaborva, someone from Mitchell's Plain. Sorry that I can't say hi to everybody, but it's lovely to have you here. So today we're going to have a great discussion. We'll start off by looking why fathers are so important. And then we'll dive into the ECD Toolkit with Simone. We'll also use some time for a few tips and some ideas that are coming from the toolkit, just to give you a taste of what's included in this ECD Toolkit and what it is trying to unlock. And finally, we'll discuss some tools, some resources, and how you can access all of this to bring the content to life at your ECD Centre. So, Olifile, let's start off with the very important question. Why are fathers important?
Sure. Thank you so much, Shalene. It's a privilege for me to be on the platform with everyone this afternoon. Well, over 60% of children in South Africa grow up without a biological father present in the home. In fact, it's actually recorded 64%. It's 2016 recorded with Home Affairs. There was no records of the father in the birth certificate. So the statistics are really disheartening. Research has found that children who grow up with no or low levels of father involvement have more chances of being victims of or committing violence, including GBV, abusing drugs and alcohol, having mental health disorders, and teenage pregnancy, not achieving their full education or financial potential later in life. And those are some of the research findings. So we want to, mention a few things that we need to know. Being without a father or a positive male role model does not mean that a child will take drugs, drink, fall pregnant, or become a criminal. It is only a risk factor. Like smoking is only a risk factor. It is not a sentence. A father who does not live in the same home can still be positively involved with his kids. A father who lives in the same home can also be negatively involved with the kids, passive or negative. They can be there, but not be there. A social father is a person who is not the biological male parent of the child, but who plays the role of a father to the child. It can include uncles, brothers, sports coaches, youth leaders, and so many others that can step in and make a difference in the life of the child.
Now that's very, very interesting. And do you find that when you do your community work, what is the one assumption that people get an aha moment when you discuss with them these things to know about fathers? What's a thing many people say, oh, I didn't realize that?
Well, is the obvious one is that a father's only role is to provide money, right? And a lot of people, when we mention that a father's involvement is more than just providing money, then there is an aha moment. Another aha moment is that a dad can be just as involved in doing, the menial task of just changing nappies. It's not so obvious in some cases. So, and when I do the workshops, I often say, I enjoy that stage. I've changed nappies. Some of these things are a taboo for some men, but then we still have a wonderful conversation by just stating that fact that we need to be involved in the lives of our children at as early as infant stages. So one of a few things to know, Helene, is that the Father's Matter project celebrates the extraordinary role that single mothers and grandmothers play. I'm standing here and I'm sitting here on the other side of the screen. I was raised by a single mother, and what a stalwart she is. In my world, she is my stalwart. She's done so much to actually raise me up. So active fathers and men can lighten the caring and housework load that women have to do. In 2020, 78% of children in South Africa lived in homes with adult just a second here, with adult men present. While they are not all biological fathers, these men could make a big difference if they became involved as social fathers. So we just have to really encourage these 78, these men to be actively involved, now to take their role and make and see it as a very strategic and important role in the lives of children.
I think I love this word, a social father. If I think of my own child, there are social fathers in his life, role models that make a deep impact on his life. And I think that that's so a beautiful concept to think about. And the challenge we can face to men, show to men is how they can be social fathers, not even only to their own children, but beyond. So that's really interesting. I think that there are a lot of assumptions people make, and I want us to be careful. Rather, I think we should be curious, and we should come and say, why are fathers sometimes not involved? What is the research showing us? What are those barriers to father involvement? So
in our focus groups, we found the following reasons why fathers are not involved. The first one is a knowledge gap. Men do not know how important a father or man's involvement is for the child. We don't understand how high the stakes are. Us not getting involved has got, dire consequences for the child. So we don't know how important our role is in the lives of children around us. And provision, I've mentioned it earlier as an aha moment in our sessions. A lot of us think that my only involvement is to give money. There's this concept of an ATM father. If you don't have money, don't show up. Skills. Many men do not know how to connect with the children. I could actually share a very funny scenario here of a traditional man who gets presented the child after the 3 months period when the child is being nursed by the mother. Now the man is actually being presented the baby. Because of how fatherhood was modeled to him, he's holding a knobkiri, and the baby is put on a reed mat. He sits on a chair and he pokes the child with a knobkiri and say, "Ewena, you laugh." There is no connection there. The connection is through a knobkiri. Do you see? Whatever is modeled gets left out. We don't know. Many men do not know how to connect with children. Resources. Many of us do not know how to learn. We don't know how to learn to become more involved. Don't know. So we need resources to show us to do that. And then culture, some cultural practices such as intlawulo, which is basically damages when a young man has impregnated a girl. So I've had to do this as an uncle, where I had to go in and we were bigger to go and report the damages that the son has done to my niece. And that process is quite strenuous. But now with all the unemployment and so on, it's difficult. It becomes difficult for the young men to actually be actively involved in the lives of the baby. So some conversations needs to be held. We need to have dialogue around culture. We're not saying culture is wrong or evil, but we need to have strategic conversations around this. Lobola has become another barrier. So again, we have to really look at these findings with the unemployment stats as well, because these things, they work hand in glove. So we need to have those conversations. They are not easy conversations, but we've got to have those conversations.
Yes, I agree with you. You say it's not easy conversations, but I think it's worth it. Often things that are not easy are worth it, because fathers and male role models in our society can play a massive positive role in South Africa, and South Africa needs that. So I'm very excited about it. Can I just also mention in the chat, I see that we have some guests who are also male ECD educators. So that's really fantastic that you have taken the time to join. The ECD community is mostly women, and there are very few men. So I'm so glad that you're here today. We'd love to have your thoughts and your comments in the chat. Olufile, now that I think you've really unlocked for us that we need fathers and father figures to be involved in our children's lives. So as ECD Centre owners, a child spends a big part of the day at their preschool, their creche, or their ECD center. I wonder what our guests, that's you listening, think. What do you think are the reasons why fathers are not as involved at ECD centers? So I can tell you that Heartlines has done amazing research, in-depth research, and they've identified key reasons. So I'm going to put some of those and a few odds and ends that are not research-based into this poll. So if you look at your screen now, you can select a few. I'm going to check if it's on now. Started a poll. See if you can view the poll and select 2 or maximum 3 reasons. Why do you think father involvement at ECD's centers are not as high as they could be? So look at the poll and select maximum 3 things. I'm going to give you only a 1 minute. Okay, so select up to 3 and then press submit. I'm starting to see the results on my side. I'll share it with you shortly. You'll find it very interesting. So look at your screen on your phone or on your laptop, select the poll, and you'll see there are a few options. Why do you think fathers are not more involved at ECD centers? 50 of you have already responded. Let's get a few more responses in. 60. Very interesting results thus far. Make your voice heard. Have a look at the poll. If you're on Facebook today, sorry, this is a Zoom poll, but add your comments maybe in the chat in Facebook. All right, 80 people have responded. I'm going to end the poll in like 10 seconds, and then I'll show you. What do we think? So I'm going to end the poll now. Let me share the results with you. All right, so if you look at your screen now, on my screen, I can see the poll results. And you can see that it looks to me like the top 2 reasons we think is at 47% of people say, we don't know how to involve fathers. We don't know how to involve fathers at our ECD centers. Then the 2 runners up are that we believe fathers are working long hours and they struggle to visit centers. And the other one is that as a society, we don't trust men around children. That's really, really interesting and honest feedback here. Only 12% of people say fathers don't care about their children. And 14% of people say centers don't have the time to involve fathers. So I'm going to stop sharing, but I think that's just fascinating for us to reflect in our little virtual room here. What are our thoughts about father involvement at ECD centers? Now, let's look at, Olivile, why don't you share with us, what has your research at Heartlines showed? What are the main reasons stopping fathers from being involved at ECD centers?
Oh, yeah, interesting from the poll there. The first one is trust. Because of the high sexual crime rate in South Africa, people do not always trust men to be around children for obvious reasons. And so we've got to, take that with a pinch of salt. And being uncomfortable. ECD's teachers are mostly female, so they may be more comfortable dealing with women. And I have been very actively involved in my children's, early childhood development and so on. When you get a message and you read a text that says, sorry, mom, but I'm dead. So there's always this the normal conversation with mom and not with dad. And then also importance, this may not always know that father involvement is helpful and important. People don't always know that a father involvement is helpful and important in the life of the child. There are practicalities though. that we may not know how to involve fathers as ECD practitioners. We just don't know where to start. And then time. We may not have time to involve fathers, And then there is this big one. This is a biggie, gender roles. It may be more likely to target mothers with communication and in meetings, while expecting men to do the main things like attend a sports day or a braai at a fundraiser. And that's what I've seen us dads being called to. Here we've got a Father's Day thing. Let's go and do a braai. So those are just practical findings from the research.
Yes.
Thanks so much.
I wonder if the audience really can resonate with those. I know that I can. For example, I love to braai, and people think it's very strange when I volunteer to braai at the sports day. But that's enough about me. Let's now, Simone, I want to come to you because I think that really sets the scene for. I think I can sense that people's hearts are that they want to involve fathers. We're not always sure how to do that. And we need guidelines, and maybe this is where the ECD Toolkit, the Toolkit for ECD practitioners, really comes in. So start us off, what is the toolkit?
Thank you so much, Helene, and hello again to everybody. It's such an honor and a joy to speak to everybody about this topic. So as you can see there, the toolkit helps ECD teachers and practitioners to make their ECD centres a welcoming place for fathers. Now, we know that ECD teachers and practitioners are superheroes who have so much on the go. And so this is not to impose an additional layer of work. Ultimately, in the long run, we really hope that this will help alleviate your burden by increasing father involvement, because it is a benefit to the child, to the ECD centre, and also to the mother. So practically what this consists of is a written booklet, which is at this point available in only English, but at a later stage, if it gains traction, we may also consider translation. Then we have 4 short video clips that are 2 to 3 minutes in length each. And they can be shared on WhatsApp as well once people have done the training. So we really prioritize making things easily accessible. We will also provide hard copies of the toolkit, the written toolkit, when people attend in-person training. The video clips have been translated into Sesotho, isiZulu, and Afrikaans as well. And if there's anybody listening who helped in the research phase, because we spoke to a lot of ECD teachers, to toy librarians, to specialists, because we really wanted this to be relevant to our South African target audience primarily, but we wanted it to be a co-created resource that really resonates and is helpful. So also to those listening today who may kind of have other insights and helpful things to share, we would like to start a conversation about these things, because together we are building this knowledge. So now, to kind of give you guys an idea of what to expect, we're going to watch the first video in the series. Sorry, I forgot to add, the first 3 videos are aimed at ECD teachers, and the 4th we've made for ECD teachers to share with parents to help them communicate the importance of father involvement. Thank you so much, Helene.
Meet Andile. She runs her own ECD centre. Every morning, she stands at the gate. Her little ones run to greet her. She notices lots of mothers and gogos and aunties, but only 1 or 2 dads. She's having tea with some fellow ECD teachers. They talk about how few dads seem to be around. Even when we have parents' events and special days, her one colleague says to her, "There are so few dads. Surely they're not all working at that time." "But why does this matter? Huh? Why do fathers even matter?" her one colleague says. Andile jumps up and exclaims, "It matters a lot." She has seen lots of research on this. The positive role of a father or father figure in the early development of children is proven to be really important for the healthy growth of children. She explains, children learn better, find problem solving easier, and have better language and verbal skills. Don't forget about the social skills, another teacher points out. They share better with others, and as they grow older, they have less chance of mental health problems like bad anxiety. Andile agrees. For little boys, having a father present and active in their lives helps them to learn to manage their emotions. And girls understand how to have positive, healthy relations with men when they become young women. A positive relationship with a father or father figures prepares both boys and girls for healthy future relationships. Her colleagues see the real advantages. When they involve fathers in the activities in their centres, children benefit. Andile is committed at her ECD Centre to make sure everyone understands why fathers matter. Are you? Fathers matter in the lives of young children to help them grow and develop. For more information and access to resources on how to include fathers at your centre today, go to www.fathersmatter.org.za. Find us on Facebook at Fathers Matter ZA.
Great, thank you so much, Helene. So you would have been able to pick up a few of the themes while we were watching the first video, but basically there's three parts to the toolkit and its themes. The first one is the role of fathers in the first years of a child's life, basically the why. Why does it matter for a father in particular? And also, as Olefile said earlier, a father figure. So this is not just the biological father, it is whichever male lives in the household or close to the child and is involved and willing to be involved in his or her life. Secondly, there's the ECD, the father-friendly ECD Centre. Now, this is once again not intending to impose any additional burdens on what you're already doing, but rather just helping you consider a few things that you might not have thought of before, to make sure that you're doing your best to include fathers at your ECD Centre. And then third is a more practical thing, which is helping fathers become partners in their children's education. And so these are a few tips and tools that you can share with fathers to equip them in helping their child with their learning journeys.
So thanks, Simone. I see on the chat, someone's actually asking about what the toolkit costs. I think the next slide is all about how you can implement this toolkit at your ECD Centre. So cover that for us as well.
Yes, thank you, Shirley, for your question and everybody else. I'm very glad to say that it's available for free. But what we do, however, strongly encourage is training before we share the free resources, because as you might imagine, it's quite a deep topic, and we think that it would be the best value for people to engage quite deeply on this toolkit before implementing it, if you're an RTO to others or in your own centre. So ideally, what you could do after this, if you're interested, is reach out to us and use the form on the website. The links will come up later, and drop me an email. And we will either organize an in-person workshop, depending on demand within your particular area, or it will be on Zoom. But we would love to spend a bit more time unpacking the toolkit with you, and then also looking at particular issues that you might be facing, because I think within even various regions in South Africa, everybody is in different contexts. And so it's always wonderful to kind of consider those things together and learn from one another as well. And after we finish the workshop, you will be given a printed copy of the written work of the written toolkit. And we will also share the 4 video clips with you, which, as I said, can be shared on WhatsApp. Yes, so I hope that's clear now, but do put any other questions you may have in the chat. And now, just to show you an example of a few of the tips, I want to preface this with the fact that we know that this is not a silver bullet. We know that some of you may face extremely difficult, complex situations regarding father involvement, and that some of you may have even tried to involve fathers and to no avail. So just saying, we really appreciate that there are very complex issues around fathers, and that not all fathers may necessarily want to be involved. But to the extent that they do, these kinds of tips hopefully will give you some pointers on how to better involve them and to equip them to be involved. So obviously everybody can read these, and Helene will also speak about how you can access these for your own use. But the general principles is provide fathers with opportunity for participation. I think to Olefile's comment of saying, dear mom, on a WhatsApp, don't assume that mothers are the only people who want to receive communication about children. Then also on the point of communication, in your language, make it clear that you would like to involve those who want to be involved, so mothers and fathers. And then treat fathers as being capable of being involved. So to the extent that they are willing to learn and willing to be available, treat them as people who have the ability to learn, because I think sometimes there's language that causes fathers to think that they may not be capable. So as an ECD teacher, you can do a lot in empowering fathers with the language you use. So now a few things that are not helpful. And once again, you more than all of us here as panelists know that some fathers are just not safe to have around ECD centres. And so we are definitely not advocating that these are the kinds of fathers to be included. But if you know that there are fathers who are interested in being positively present and involved, then do make the effort to include them. Do make sure that you encourage fathers to know that they can also be involved in the hands-on caregiving, not just the concept of an ATM father who provides financially. Don't encourage negative perceptions of fathers. So avoid using language like deadbeat or, men are trash. And once again, we know that there are very toxic men who are damaging, but think about how your words shape the perceptions of the children in your care. And then lastly, encourage children to think of fathers more broadly than stereotypical gender roles. So the father doesn't just make the money. The mother doesn't just, here the example, ask mom to help you with the dress up, or ask mom to bake things for the bake sale. We don't need to assume those things. They might be true in a lot of cases, but make sure that children know that their father can be just as involved as their mother is. Helene's now going to tell you how you can get these tips. The toolkit isn't limited to these tips only, and it's got broader ideas as well, but these were just a few of the best practice tips that we wanted to share with you.
Yes. Let's face it, this topic is very important and very deep. And also it forces us as individuals to reflect on our own father perceptions, our own father experiences or lack of experiences. And I think that's why Simone is saying, this is not a checklist. This is not a checklist that you go through. It really is about engaging yourself and your teachers and your staff around whether you are committed to the principle of creating a father-friendly ECD center that encourages father participation. So what we've done is, because we know how you love a free download. Come on, we know it. Everybody likes a little one-pager with a few pointers. With Heartlines' help, we have created this one-pager, some do's and don'ts for father involvement at your ECD center, and you can download this for free from the Grow app in our resource center. But please reach out to Heartlines to engage with them about the toolkit as a whole and how you can bring that toolkit to life in your community. Especially if you are a resource and training organization or a community or a faith-based organization, and you have the capacity to host Heartlines, then please do reach out to them. We need to work together to get fathers, to make sure that fathers matter across South Africa. So this free downloadable resource, if you're thinking, where can I find it? I think my colleague Tyrrell will put some notes in the chat. It's available for free on our Grow Giraffe app. That's the app that Grow has for any ECD Centre owner to run their preschool from their phone. You don't have to be a grow school. You don't become a grow school. It's just a gift that we have made to the ECD sector. And in there's a resource portal. And in the resource center, you can download over 360 types of resources. In the parent communication section, you can find this free download, Father Involvement at Your ECD Centre, some do's and don'ts. All right. We are doing exceptionally well on time. We're going to go into the final section of the webinar, which talks about the tools, the resources, and the next steps. You're sitting here thinking, okay, Helene, what must I do next? So the first one was to download the free one-pager with those tips from our resource center in the Giraffe app that's available to any ECD Centre in the country. Number 2, on your Facebook, go and find Fathers Matter and go follow Fathers Matter. You'll see some really inspiring content and things around father involvement beyond ECD, but fathers in general. Great content also to share with your staff and to engage. Number 3, on their website, Heartlines has a special page, Fathers Matter ECD. On that page, you can read more about the toolkit and click on that you want to be involved and are interested in the training. I'll show you that in a second. And finally, you can drop someone an email at this email address right here. Okay, so the website looks like this. Let me see if I can show you the website quickly. There we go. Oh, my screen share has stopped. Hold on. So this is the URL that we will be posting in the chat. And we will also make sure tomorrow by 4 p.m. everybody who registered for this webinar will get an email with the link to the slides you saw today, a link to this video recording, and I'll include all of these helpful URLs for you. Okay, so don't stress. Here you can read more about the Fathers Matter topic and approach for ECD. And you see this link here, ready to get started. Click on that and Simone will get your interest, that you are interested in them reaching out and hosting training in your area or online. All right. I think that is mostly it. I see some interesting comments in the chat. Let me just see here. Brenda says, I'm enjoying this workshop a lot. So insightful. Thank you, Brenda. I'm also learning a lot. Doreen, hi, Doreen. Let's see, does anybody else have a question here? Hi, Christine from Tatis in the Lowveld. Oh, I've heard so much about your organization. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have Simone and Olufile on the call for a few more minutes. Do you have any other questions or any other comments? Maybe Olufile, can I come to you for one last round? If you had a final parting thoughts, your advice or your just encouragement for those who are listening, what are your final thoughts for our attendees?
As mentioned, this is my favorite stage. I love ECD. You know, as a father, I thought, sure, I don't know what goes on into a father's mind to deny himself the opportunity to journey with a child through those wonderful, crucial developments in stages in their lives. And I've had the privilege of working with both my son, who's now 15, on Friday last week, and my daughter, who is 8, turning 9, and she is a ball of fire. I really, really enjoyed being part of my children's lives. And so to ECD practitioners, make room, please. Make room for dads to be involved. I've had a privilege of doing a workshop for parents at an ECD center, and I see Fiki Lepoka is on the line. It was parents from her ECD center. The mother there, a single mother, they are co-parenting with the father of her son. And she came to me and she said, I've been recording what you've been saying over the past 3 hours, and I've been sending audio clippings to the father of my son. in his son as well. And we have not been in good speaking terms, but after this session, we've been talking a lot more better. And she said, what I can tell the men out there, I mean, the ladies out there, the single mothers out there, give them a chance. Just give them a chance. I know relationships are a bit complex, much more complicated than we think, and we don't want to overlook some of those dynamics. But we do need to make room in our ECD centers for men to be involved, not just their biological fathers, but uncles and
grandfathers and
grandfathers. You know, so there's many stories. We've seen the impact of this program even before, as Simone has been building the toolkit. We've been going out there having workshops and having conversations, because the idea here is to actually have dialogue and have conversations, and those conversations have actually given so much good fruit, you know, as a result. Thank you so much.
Awesome. I see in the chat people are commenting about hosting events. People are saying, Leanne, I love this. Leanne says, we need to blow wind in our father's sails. Be the wind in the sails. That's so important. Simone, did you have, I'm just looking through all of these comments, but Simone, what do you have to share?
So I think I've seen this various iterations of this question in the chat, and Olefile, apologies for putting you on the spot. There's some questions around mothers being gatekeepers, and what do you do in that instance? I'm just trying to find the question again. It says, how would you address fathers that want to be involved but the mother refuses? I think that's also a bit of a common issue. Disclaimers needed, but Olefile, generally, are there some thoughts that you've picked up in your work with men on this particular issue?
Yeah, look, I'm not to say I have an answer to that complex situation, but in my engagement and interactions with men in workshops, you're finding a different kind of man, a man who wants to be involved, but because of relationships that have been strained between him and the mother of the child, he's been denied access. But also there's another issue of intlaulo, which is another conversation altogether. But I meet men who can afford, who are working, but because of other issues, other relationship dynamics, they're basically being punished through the children. And mothers don't realize the impact that will have in the life of the child. So they need to find ways. We often say in our presentation, we'll say ways needs to be found for the father to have access to the children. So and this issue is not a black or white issue. It affects all of us. It affects all of us across the board. So I think you know, this here causes us as adults to find ways of resolving our conflicts in a way that models to children that, you know what, people do disagree and people do find ways to actually resolve things in an amicable way. And that's how we're actually creating leaders. That's how we're actually developing leadership, because leadership is about assuming position of power, and power is governed by problems. You can't in any way, you know, think that, you know, just occupy this position and not have problems. Problems will come your way. And so when you actually have children under your care, understand that you are actually entering into a bull's ring. You are actually entering into a boxing match, and it's going to be blow by blow, knock by knock. And I'm not saying literally, but, you know, you got to be willing. Yeah, those challenges will be that you need to actually find ways to sit down and find a way and just model to these little ones that, hey, we can actually resolve matters in a humane and amicable way.
Yeah, so, I think what's really come out from this webinar for me has been that we want fathers to be more involved. But as women, we must reflect and say, are we allowing men to be involved? Because we have lots of power in our children's lives, and we can be the gatekeepers, maybe even unintentionally. We don't realize it, but we are sometimes the gatekeepers to the access to our children. And I think you mentioned it so nicely now, is we cannot punish, we shouldn't be punishing the parents by using the child. The child cannot be the punishment, access or not access, because those are our own wounds and our own issues with the relationship. So I think someone here recently just in the chat mentioned, we must put aside our differences and be working together for the sake of the little ones. That was Millicent. Thank you, Millicent. So working together for the sake of the little ones. And Mary also says it beautifully. She says that children will grow up damaged, and this leads to the moral decay in our communities. And it comes back to what we said at the first slide, values. Values is the foundation for our society. And it's tough, but it's worth having the tough conversation and fighting for what's good for our young ones.
Sorry, Helene, just to speak to another comment, someone asked, how can you encourage fathers to become more involved in the learning? And just from the research side of things, there are differences in how we communicate to men and to women. I don't want to promote gender stereotyping, but I found some quite interesting things that said you really need to emphasize the why, because some men are motivated by reasons of practicality. And so if you really clearly articulate the fact that, you know, you're involved in laying the foundations for the educational future of the child and their cognitive development and their physiological development, and it's not just creche and you're not just, you know, I think those things are all things that people know in the broader communication of the importance of ECD, but fathers also have very particular roles that they can kind of play in a child's life that would help strengthen those skills. So in communicating that, make sure that fathers do know that they have a unique role to play. And yes, I've been so encouraged as well by reading all these conversations, and thank you so all of these comments rather, and I'm excited to partner with everybody in taking this further.
Simone, can I add something there? You know, it also comes down to what's being modeled, and I mentioned modeling earlier on. And I heard one man say, I can never do what I never saw my father do. So modeling is a big part of this. So you know, and it takes a lot of, it takes hard work to get men to the space where they're grappling with what they have grown up knowing, and then taking them into a space of interrogating that learning. And Alvin Toffler's you know, loose quote that goes around, you know, to learn, unlearn, and relearn. You take them through that process. It's not easy. It's not easy because some of these things are deeply entrenched.
Awesome. So for those who wanted to know, yes, we will definitely share these slides. So tomorrow by 4 p.m., you'll get an email from Zoom, not from Grow. Zoom will email you and say, thank you for attending. And in there, I will give you a link to download the slides. I'll give you a link to a YouTube video where this recording will be hosted. And I'll give you all the links to the Heartlines website, Simone's email address. Good luck, Simone. You're going to have a lot of emails. The Facebook page. So it really has been our honor as Grow ECD to host Heartlines. We are actively integrating the Fathers Matter material into our work that we do with ECD Centre owners and teachers, even our staff. And we are already seeing it energize and change the conversation and create a whole new ecosystem where men are valued and involved in their children's lives. So I'm going to say that it's hard work, but it's worth it. And we pray for all the ECD Centre owners. We pray for all the parents, the fathers, the father figures, and we hope that this is going to be the fire, the light that starts the fire in fathers across South Africa. Thank you very much, Simone. Thank you, Olifile. It was great to have you on the call.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, and thank you everyone for joining.
Bye.